So we're back once more on my 1975 Lincoln Continental. In this video, we're gonna get the insulation all put in so we can get ready to put carpet in. So this is what I came up with for padding in the back to replace that jute padding that was torn up by the rodent and had been wet and all that kind of stuff, and then replace the center stuff too because it was in really bad shape. This stuff here is this Uxcell stuff, and it's a foam with like a tinfoil type layer on it, like a heat barrier, and then the foam has a sticky backing. That's, you know, the peel off from the backing, so it's stuck to the floor. It's not just an insulation, it's a sound deadening. So, you know, I think it'll work well. And I just kind of taped over any seams and then taped down, you know, wiring and stuff just to keep it from moving. We're gonna have to definitely extend out the metal for that footboard piece that we had to trim off. And then they had like a wood something laying over the wiring. I don't think there was anything on this side. I think it was only on the driver's side, just kind of laying over the wires. I don't know. You know, I think what we'll do is we'll carry metal out to basically this point on the other side. You know, basically cover that valley with metal. And then we may just lay some of this. I bought some of this. It's basically kind of like, it's a foil insulation. I've used this on cars before, but it's a house insulation. It's pretty cheap, about $25 a roll. I think this stuff, I bought the biggest piece of it I could get, which I've got some extra if we want to fill in some other areas. But I think I paid about $75 for this stuff, you know, and we got this for $25. It doesn't do much, you know, but if you put a couple layers on it, I've done this stuff in about 2 layers on a truck. It worked pretty good. We'll probably fill in some areas where they didn't even have insulation before. It'll just help, you know, give some heat barrier mainly. It's not going to do much for sound deadening. That little foam piece is like a foam sheet that laid in here, basically making this duct. Just kind of laid in here, that was chewed up. We're going to replace that. That's the main thing I bought this for, to be honest, is we're going to use this to kind of lay in there instead of that piece of foam that they had. It's just what I came up with. And then once this is laid down, probably going to just spray it with undercoating. Haven't yet, but I think I'll do that once it's in. And yeah, I mean, it'll just give us another layer of sound deadening. I like the undercoating. Once we get this side done and wrapped up, we're going to move over to the driver's side. I'm going to unplug all these plugs and just spray them with some deoxit just to kind of make sure I'll inspect them, but if they look decent, I'm just going to spray them with some deoxit. Plug them back in, make sure, you know, while we're here, we might as well do that. And that way, hopefully we don't have any wiring issues. So I took these connections apart and they actually all looked real good. I was surprised that they did. I thought with them being on the floor, they would be all corroded, but they didn't look too bad. So I sprayed them with some deoxit, put them all back together. And now we just need to get this cover that goes over them back on. It's kind of a tight fit with all these wires. So we'll get that on and continue on. So now we need to cut our piece. It's going to be kind of a weird shape. It's going to have to come in here. There's no wires over here, so we can self-tap straight into this piece and kind of tie them together. I'm just going to keep an eye on where we can tie in right here and then all along over here. But we'll leave all this open. We're not going to risk, you know, screwing in to a wire. All right, so here's what we got. Hacked up a Summit box and we're overlapping about 1 inch on each side. That'll allow us to run some screws through it. We're stopping right here, which is what I wanted. We will probably put another piece of that that stuff over the wires, just kind of encapsulate them and cut out a little spot for that right there. We're coming onto here where we can screw in a couple different spots and kind of tie that together. I may as well, I've got some seam sealer to fill in some of these spots where the seam sealer came off. I'm not going to seam seal like that seam right there where they had it. I just don't think it'll stay, and I don't think it's ever going to leak or anything there. You know, it that metal has been together so many years, it is probably rusted together, and you know, we've got so many coats of rust bullet and undercoating. I think it's got it sealed up, but something like this line right here I want to get. I think that line right there is good. There's one little gap right there I want to fill in, and I'm going to check the other side real good. But the point in saying that is I may run a bead along here to kind of tie these pieces together, make sure they don't rattle or anything, and you know, put a couple little screws to piece them together. I guess we could rivet it, but we'll just put some screws so we can separate them, you know, if we need to. And I'm getting hungry, so stomach's growling. So let me go see what metal I have that's that big. Hopefully I got a piece and we don't have to piece it together, and we will cut that out, trace it out, then cut it out. All right, so here's our piece. This was a computer case side. This is from a really old case, one that had a side, then top, and then another side all connected together. And so whenever I part out computers, I keep the sides. So I straightened it out, so it's got a crease in there that I had to straighten out, and you know, because that was a side and then that's the top of what was the case. And I've got it cleaned up. I'm just test fitting. I think I'm going to take and put a little bit of a bend right here to drop it in that groove just a little better, maybe. May do that. And other than that, I think it fits good. I'm going to clean it up. I've already went over it with the wire brush, but I'm going to clean it up a little bit more, and then we'll paint it, prime it and paint it. And once it's dry, we'll put it in here. While we're waiting for that to dry, I'm gonna hop back over on the passenger side. That's kind of what I knew I needed to paint this, so I wanted to get that done first, and then I can be working on that while this dries. So over here, and I'm just kind of cutting and slicing and doing relief cuts to help it bend and mold. And we're gonna get it tucked in here and try to get it as tight as we can. I guess I need to look back at my video that I did. It's a good thing about doing video, and see if our wiring tucks under this. I don't think it does. I think this went over, and we're probably gonna leave it a little big, and we'll just do some test fits and make sure we end up with a little channel for that duct to transfer heat for our floor vents in the back. That's what all this is for. This floor makes a duct right there. We just need to make sure that insulation doesn't like pop up, you know, make sure it leaves a void here for the ducting, and make sure our wires travel, I guess, outside of that. So I may actually pull this back and test fit and make sure our wires are out of the way, and then come back and lay this back in and try to probably tape it down, you know, in a few spots, just keep it from moving. And then this panel will hold it down. I thought about doing some spray glue, but I don't want it to make it lift the undercoating. So I don't think we're gonna do that unless we have to. Well, it's by no means pretty, but we have cut and diced and formed it. Little relief cuts in it to make it form to the floor without gluing it, and it's taped all down on the perimeters. Once the carpet lays down on it, you know, it's not going to be moving, and once we get this thing on it, of course, it's not going to move. So let's go ahead and set that on it. Actually, we need to set the duct in place first, and the top duct as well, and then we'll be ready to set that piece down. And we did it. Oh goodness, what a mess. But it's functional, and sealed the top of it off with some tape. Totally unnecessary, but it's there. I don't have this screwed in yet. I need to kind of make sure I line it up both sides, and I want to look at the carpet first, because on the other one, the carpet tucked under with the two-piece carpet, it tucked under here, and then it screwed through it to hold the carpet. So I want to look at my carpet first before we do that. I think I'm going to actually hit this with some undercoating, and just kind of spray all this insulation it doesn't really matter with insulation, but it'll get sprayed as well. And that's just to further sound deaden this piece, I guess. I don't know. We're just flying by the seat of our pants here. So I'm gonna spray that real quick just because I want to. And go do some more painting on that piece. Oh, like I said, I've got bronchitis, so yeah, it's not going well. Can't talk. So went ahead and undercoated these pieces separately. But this piece is painted and undercoated. It's actually thicker metal than that original piece. And of course, back in here, factory was just wood. So, yeah. So we're definitely in better shape than it was. I went ahead and laid over insulation on top of that wire like I said I would. And I'm going to put some self-tappers in this. There's our little dimple I put just to kind of help transition it into that corner. But I'm going to spend some time, get all this lined up like I want it, and just throw a few self-tappers in it. All right, need to do a little cleanup with the shop vac. And I just used self-tappers. That's what they had in it from the factory. So don't give me a thumbs down for that. That's factory. I think I will cut out some of that other insulation and just kind of lay in here, at least to kind of go to there and then maybe up there, and just lay that in before I put the factory insulation back. I think, you know, it's not going to make a difference in how the factory insulation fits or anything. May not put it over the center hump just because it may not lay right, but I think that'll maybe help a little bit. I don't know, but it's definitely not going to hurt. So we'll do that. And then we're going to lay the factory insulation back in. Like I said, I need to do some vacuuming. Oh, forgot about my seam sealer. I'm just going to touch up that little spot there and right here and check the other side. And then that's all I'm going to do for seam sealer. I think the rest of it is fine. I decided against putting any over there. We're tying into this piece with 3 screws, and they seem to hold well. We avoided the whole area where the wires are going, which is right in there. And then I've got enough screws in this and other places in this panel to, you know, hold it down well. And I think I said it before, but it's thicker metal than they used before, or used from the factory. So I like it. I think it'll work well. Okay, there's our seam sealer. It's not caulking, it's AC Delco's seam sealer. I use it because it's the cheapest. It seems to work pretty well too. But we've got this layered in. Like I said, this is just extra. Really didn't need it because we've got good factory insulation that's still in good shape. Well, my OCD got the best of me, and I pretty much insulated everywhere except, you know, where that vent attaches, because I'm going to have to unattach that, slip the carpet under, reattach it. I didn't want to be dealing with insulation there. And I didn't want to deal with it where the seat bolts up. But everywhere else, I covered in that stuff. You know, even back here where we had the other stuff. I didn't do the sides, but the floor I covered, and that kind of covers up all the wires. It's just going to help us get a better floor, smoother floor. I don't know. And, you know, the carpet does have a backing to it, but I was here, might as well do it. And transmission tunnel all covered, so I feel really good about it. We used about half of a roll of that and about half a roll of duct tape, taping all this stuff into place. Don't go crazy with making it look perfect, just make it stay in place. You know, we got part of the, you know, 50 years from now when someone goes to replace the carpet, they'll be like, hey, that guy used, you know, double reflective insulation with staple tab. And it's got the energy efficiency, I think, chart part of it. So, you know, you got that going for you. But yeah, I wasn't going to peel that off. I guess I could have discarded that piece and used another, but it's not doing any harm there. We got our wires poked out. I think I'm going to tuck that little wire back in. I did on this side because it wasn't plugged into anything. So I think I'm going to just tuck it back in there and hide it. I don't know what it's for. Something we don't have, I guess, optioned on this car. Feel good about it. So I'm going to clean up the rest of my mess here. I've tried to clean up as I go. So we've had a big mess and we're down to a smaller mess. And yeah, the only thing I might do once I get that front pad in, I think it kind of goes up to like right here. And if it does, I may cut a thin little sliver of that stuff and just kind of lay right in here. I'm saying that now, so that probably means I need to do it if I'm saying it. And then I also added this piece here. There was an insulation piece, a factory one, that went from there to about right here. And I did save it. And it's a pretty thin piece, but when I went to put it back in, it just, I don't know. I didn't feel good about it. I didn't like it. It was kind of cracking and I didn't feel like it was gonna stay in place. So I put that piece there, but I was afraid to go too high up. I thought it was gonna make a bulge in the carpet. So I kind of went up to the flat area, but I think we'll put that thin stuff maybe in the flat area if that factory stuff comes over here. So that's the next step. I'm gonna clean this stuff up. I'm gonna go get the factory piece, slip it in, make sure it still fits okay. I don't think we've added too much layer. You know, this stuff is really thin. So, you know, I think we can get away with putting it there and the factory stuff still fitting just fine. Here's what we've got. Had a few places where that thing was cracked. and I tried to kind of tape where it was cracked. Tape's not wanting to stick real well, but it's kind of holding in, at least, you know, if it can kind of help. I don't know. Probably not doing much, but I think we're good. You know, we added extra insulation, so even if we got a crack in it, we still have a solid barrier, and then the jute under it is still in good shape. It's just that tar paper stuff that's cracked. But we taped over the cracks, you know, makes us feel a little better, and went ahead and did what I said I would do. Used some scraps and just kind of filled in just that flat area, because that does cover that area. So we did this, and I think that's more than we had factory. And then also went and kind of just tied this piece to that piece to make a seal, I guess. I don't know. I'm just using up tape. I'm down one roll. Started this project with a brand new roll, and now I've used that roll and pretty much used up another half a roll. So lots of tape holding things down, but I think we're ready to start trying to fit the carpet. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. I thought about including the carpet in this one, but it's getting a little bit long, so I think we're going to end this one here. If y'all have got any insulating products y'all have used in the past that have worked well, let me know. You know, I've used this bubble wrap stuff before. It's worked pretty well. You know, it's cheap, which is why I used it before. And then this stick-on stuff, I'm pretty impressed with. I think it'll hold up well. So I think all in all, you know, we're probably ending up with more insulation than this car came with, and it was pretty well insulated, you know, from the factory. But I think ultimately we're ending up, you know, replacing with more than what we took out. So I think that's good in my opinion. Anyway, so let me know. I'm always open for people's experience on products. So let me know in the comments. We've got a lot more to go on this car. We're getting close, but there's still quite a bit of other things that we've got to do to get this thing back on the road. So all that'll be coming up. So make sure you're subscribed if you're enjoying these videos. And thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below, hit the like button, and of course, subscribe for more.